Hello, I'm Chris Athanas. I'm a KMP developer. Tech support said they're coming out Tuesday. We'll see. Today I'll be reacting to my new favorite channel, Economics Ethan. Now, he does like corporate financial stuff, but he's on the same kind of like wavelength of like, okay, I've seen all the stuff that's inside the inefficiencies inside these things, and there is a different path. And he's on that path. I'm on that path. I've been on that path for a while, and we're gonna can be comparing some of Amazon's policies to adventure-driven development and just what's coming ahead for the next, I don't know, 5-10 years in software development. If you are okay with how these big corporations run things and you're compatible with their viewpoints, I say go for it. But I just don't know how much longer they can keep going this than having good people. Not there's a lot of talented people who put up with a lot of stuff right now because they don't know that there's another way that they could possibly do it themselves or with a very small number of people. They have just been really trained into thinking the preserver type, which is where Amazon is now. They're straight in preserver mode because the innovation that happened was 25 years ago. When I first got involved with Amazon, it was for very highly technical books. I spent thousands and thousands of dollars on that thing. And because they did something nobody else could, there was very deep niche. There was like computer graphics software books, and it was just like you had to actually go to a store or someplace. You couldn't find these things, and if didn't even have them, or it was just a cluster F. So when Amazon came along, it was a very deep niche. Things like, can you just go to the Barnes and Noble? Get yourself. It's like, not this stuff. So that's where Amazon came through. That's where they broke out. They were a deep niche product that came out into this other thing, and they've ridden a wave where you had to be a big company to get the economies of scale that they required. But that's not how it is now.
So in this video, we're going to talk about Amazon, right? And we know Amazon have started this return to the office or RTO plan, which is highly questionable. Lots of employees are not too happy about it. And in this video, we're going to learn a lot of lessons about corporate mind games they play with their employees, right? Now, what can we learn from this particular return to the office or RTO plan, as you'll see it referred to throughout this video? And how can we game plan for the return to the office for other companies and understand a bit about the way they're manipulating their employees? So lots of interesting things to consider here, right? So initially they introduced a 3-day per week office requirement, and many people still wanted to work from home, and there were all sorts of disagreements with their employees. And then by about July 2024, Amazon began tracking employee attendance to put people under pressure. And around in September, the CEO of Amazon, I know people probably typically think of Jeff Bezos, but the CEO right now is someone called Andy Jassy, and he announced that a full 5-day work week is what's required, right? And they want employees to stop their protests, stop their organizations together to kind of prevent this move. And
I think that's ridiculous. Like this whole trying to create a union at these corporate companies, bad idea. Just create other companies. Look, the portal has opened. It is possible to do a lot of really deep niche projects, which you don't need to have a billion customers. You can just have 100 customers or 500 customers or 1,000 customers, and you treat them super well, and that's your business, right? You don't have to do. We have to do a million, scale it to billions. Like, you don't have to. You can find a cave opening where you don't have to deal with all these corporate shenanigans that are required for the preserver mode to keep their system going, which is a very industrial minded system. It's not deep knowledge work. Well, the original people did. The original people did deep knowledge work, and I'll give them credit here. But that's not how it run. That's not how it run today. Like if you go into work with that company thinking you're going to be a part of some startup thing, no.
want everyone to be relocated to hub offices, right? Relocated to the main offices they should be working at, rather than working at smaller offices that are locally based to where they are in their small towns and more affordable locations. And this move is kind of reflecting Amazon's shift away from remote work, right? So let's go through a bit of the timeline here. And if you are new to the channel, I am a career coach. I've been working for over 10 years within the finance industry. So some of these interesting mind games I'm familiar with, and we'll talk you through it here. So let's go through this example here, right? So we've got Amazon, and let's follow the timeline. And this shows you the power dynamic and how it shifts between the corporation and the worker, back and forth, right? Now in March 2020, the corporate employees had to move to work from home. We know what happened in 2020, and the incredible restrictions on people's freedom, and people forced to work from home, right? So this company and the governments of the world, these so-called experts of the world, they snapped their fingers and they said, okay, cool, you need to work from home, right? Whether you want to or not. So we have to follow their rules, but we don't have any leverage based on what they're saying. And then it says people have to return to work in 2021. That was delayed. And then the same thing with October, that was delayed, the return to the office. And then in February 2023, we see that tracking. That's the CEO Jassy of Amazon, the CEO of Amazon, and he said, okay, no, we don't have a return to the office policy. It says 3-day work week in the office, 2 days from home. Then employees start to organize a workout to protest their their change or challenge towards that. So that's right here, as you can see, where it says May 2023.
Right. So I really don't agree that this is a good policy to do. And the people that are doing that stuff are the preserver types who just want to have their job to be it was like it's always been, right? But they're in a tech field, and this thing has never stayed still. It was always an illusion by these tech companies that it was going to stay still and that what you'd have was a job for life. If you got lucky and got in very, very early, you could retire earlier. But that's the exception, right? That's not how most people. But they have to make it seem like it's a real steady gig to get people to work these positions to give up on actually creating their own thing. This is a bribe, right? The bribe is it'll be the same tomorrow as yesterday. You don't have to worry about it. So turn off your creative juices and just pull our wagon. Don't try and go make a new wagon. What are you doing?
Now, this is quite interesting because it really draws into your state of mind and everyone out there that there was a massive opportunity in the last 4 years for employees that work in offices and could therefore work from home through their laptops and so on. They did not effectively leverage the opportunity that came through, right? And this is why, for me, to be honest, I offer you career advice service at an individual level. Because unfortunately, things at a group level that should be offered by, labor unions, governments that should be looking out for your best interest, but they're not. But even corporations that would want to maintain a good relation with their employees. Any type of group solution, community solution, unfortunately, it doesn't look like those things are being pursued successfully within this society.
Well, because they're not needed. It's because they're not needed. It's because what smart people do that actually will be competitive with Amazon. They just go start their own thing, and they go do something else. And the people left behind who can never compete, they're kind of stuck, man. A lot of it's this mental barrier, right? Of not being having the courage, right? So they don't have the courage. They're missing the courage, right? And they might be missing the creativity. They gotta have both. Sorry, it's kind of an elite thing. You're gonna get stuck in these things, and if you get pissed off about them, you have to put in the extra effort. So that's the other thing too. Like I hate this phrase. This phrase, winners overpay. If you want to get out of this, you have to do outstanding stuff that most people just don't want to do. Most people just do not want to give up their weekends, man. And unfortunately, adventure-driven development, some of it takes courage to give up your weekends and creativity to figure out a different way than dealing with these guys. There's no easy path to do this. Look, man, anybody that could, they want to put them in the preserver mode, right? And they want to dissuade this destroyer mode because that's their business, right? They don't want their business to be changed in a different way. No, they have to kill the competition in some way. So that's just how they bribe these guys, and also just make it seem like it's so hard you can't do it yourself. Like, it's impossible. It's like, well, that's not what Bezos said.
So that's why you need to find an individual solution for yourself, right? And I know not everyone will. Some people will just stick with their 9 to 5 and put up with these companies snapping their fingers and saying you should come to the office, or you should work from home, or you should do this, and not giving you the individual flexibility which you need to build to kind of be able to call the shots in your life to a certain extent.
Because they don't want you to, right? That's they want you to stay here. The preservers want the preservers to stay, and they know how to. What are they going to do? Say no? Then you're out in the wilderness. You're going to have to go do something over here. You have to go find something, do something, start standing, or find another preserver role. And those are getting harder and harder to come by as the destroyers and the creators eat into that market space.
Now, as it says here, so employees. It's like I said, organized walkout to protest change. This article here, it shows you how Amazon will target people who try to organize the walkout, right? So firstly, the headline here is that Amazon retaliated against employees who were organizing the walkout, right? It started creating
why wouldn't they?
All these type of performance issues in relation to them, saying they weren't doing their job properly. As you can see, if we scroll down a bit, it says in February 2023, Amazon sent email guidance for employees saying they should be working in the office, right? And this is when things really started to kick off. And in response, there were petitions by employees, and then all these types of protests and things like that. And then, as you can see, if we go down a bit more, it talks about the employee who was organizing the protests. They were put on PIPs, which is a performance improvement plan. Which
oh no, we only use PIPs to improve your performance. It's never a punishment. No. We're just trying to help you. Get the hell out of here. They're trying to help you get the hell out of here.
When you're putting up PIP, it's basically them trying to fire you. They try to make up performance issues and they try to fire you. Now, I don't know, of course, the ins and outs of this scenario, but it seems highly suspicious that, one of the key people organizing the protests against being returned to the office is subject to, basically being fired, right? So it's like, the employees.
It's not illegal. It's a hire at will state. You can hire and fire at will, right? Everyone thinks it's these companies like, oh yeah, the marketing brochure says they're gonna really care about our employees, and we want them for life and everything else. Like, no, that's just the marketing brochure, man. It's cutthroat business. This is America. This is America. It's like people that read the brochure think these companies are going to be all gravy or whatever. Yeah, when things are really good, they kind of are gravy. But when things are bad, they get cutthroat, man. It's like, this is America.
He's being given a severance package of 9 weeks' pay, and the real thing is saying, it's indirectly saying you've organized this particular work from home. Amazon organized the work from home initiative like every other company. This employee organized a protest saying we should continue working from home, and then the company says, okay, we'll pay you 9 weeks salary if we fire you and let you go and you stop organizing these protests, right? Now the thing is, why wouldn't companies want you to work from home? And typically it's because middle management and senior management want to justify their senior leadership, right? When you can work from home autonomously, you don't need to be oversighted and micromanaged to such an extent that you have to be in an office, right? They want to treat you like a child and say you have to be in the office. Now,
Right. Because
most people, money.
let's be real honest here. Let's be honest. I just want to delete code. I want to grind and delete code so I can pass that crazy technical exam, and I also want to be the kind of person that fits in, right? I would be so wonderful to have that kind of job security. Preservers just want to give me the checklist. I will do the checklist, right? I will do the checklist, right? So this is the type of people they can capture and hold on to, because they just literally just don't want to be a destroyer creator because it's too scary. They have so much stuff they've invested to give up just to get a little bit more. I'd rather not lose. These people are the rather not lose category. I don't want to lose. I can't take losing. I can't take a fail. I can't. It's save face time. Like, I just can't deal with it, right? So they're stuck.
But I know this is going to sound like maybe a bit of a conspiracy, but the way it works is that major corporations and their CRE, corporate real estate, everyone's colluding at a very senior level to maintain a power structure. And it's less about money and profit, and it's all about controlling your life, right? We can talk about the deep state, we can talk about the strained relationship. Why wouldn't billion-dollar companies always talking about cutting jobs and layoffs and things like that? Why wouldn't they want their employees to work from home so they don't have to pay really expensive costs for their offices? Now, I've worked in some major offices. We're going to go through a few examples here in a moment, but these offices, they cost a lot of money. If you have a prime real estate in Wall Street as an investment bank, Amazon, I'm sure they have many offices in very expensive parts of town. Why wouldn't they say, okay, we're going to essentially reduce our office space and make 2 floors empty and rent those out to other local businesses that might need some office space and want people to be in the office, and we can minimize our office space and save a ton of money. The thing is, all these, like I say, the system is rigged. What they want to do is operate these big corporations that obviously they have to be super efficient apparently, but they're grossly inefficient in so many ways, and they keep this kind of bloated, inefficient work approach where you have to be in the office. Not only on top of that, as we've discussed in many of my videos, they hire so many incompetent employees based on DEI or all types of other requirements, and you will see it.
Right. So they're doing all this basically ZERP environment stuff where they got money for free, and it's not quite clear how the money came in, but these guys are all connected together. Like, they got buddies. I got friend in finance over here, and oh yeah, I got your good office space here to give you a 10% kickback. Blah blah blah. So yeah, they have to keep their office real estate scams going. And come on.
Layers of middle management who aren't doing much, who just are there for the sake of it because maybe they're friends with senior management. This idea that you're sold, that companies have to look out for shareholders' best interests and maintain high profits, and unfortunately we've had bad performance this year, so we have to lay off thousands of employees. It's all highly suspicious and highly controlled, like a controlled demolition. When it's convenient, it's a controlled demolition, and they want to, for example, raise interest rates, lay off employees, say you have to work from home for some, apparently global issue that turned out to be nothing, or they want you to be dragged to the office. A lot of these things, they're just not adding up to any people anymore, and it's very clear so many things are not about money.
Well, to some people. The people that are paying attention, right? People are like, this is fucked up, man. There's some shit right? Like, this guy's like, this is messed up. We need to create something different. This is messed up. This needs to go away. This needs to be destroyed, right? There's that small number of people somewhere in this range, and it just can't be wanting to, like, I can't keep just complaining about it, wanting to destroy it. You actually also at the same time have to be wanting to, like, create something new. So that's even smaller group of people, right? It's always a small group of people who do this stuff anyway. So just, by the way, it's never, we just get everybody to wake up. If we could just get everybody involved. No, it doesn't work like that. It never has worked like that. It never will work like that. There's always got to be less than, and when you're doing adventure-driven development, there's always going to be less than 7 people in the party. Look, man, you can't have everybody going in 16 different directions. It's amazing what you can do when you got one level of management.
It's about control, right? It's about controlling every aspect of your life, and they keep these inefficient, ideologically aligned workers, right? The more gung-ho about being in the office, even though they could work from home, why is these companies so focused on giving preference towards them? It's not giving preference to the most efficient, hardest working employees who might want to work from home,
Definitely
who
not.
you think
And that's the thing too. There's their big opportunity for people that don't mind working and don't mind putting some effort in and don't just want to phone it in from the office. You know, go to the office to phone it in, so to speak. That means like just slacking off. I'm going to do like 20 minutes of work today, maybe if I'm feeling like it. Whereas most all the other stuff is just fluff, like make work, bullshit job stuff.
they would give preference to if there's such a
The massive opportunity right now, massive opportunity for people like, okay, I see all the inefficiencies, and really the only way you're going to see these inefficiencies, right, is if you're down here working in some of these things. Like you've gone through the tutorials, personal projects, your junior lead roles, and then you go down here, tunnel fake logical zoom. There you're like, oh shit, these people don't have any idea what they're doing, and I have to go in every day, and I'm always just waiting for somebody else to do a meeting to get the answer to me. It's like, ugh. Or a dungeon grind here, where I've got everybody's just feature factory. Here's the ticket. Here's the ticket. Here's the ticket. Okay, I'll do it. I got a nice 401k here. Or you're solving somebody else's development issues where they got an idea that they're trying to bring to market somehow, and it's the same project every time. It's a little bigger, a little smaller. It's just all this technical stuff. It's because you don't want to do the courage to go over this big hump here as the last part here, and there's like all these little bumpy roads along the way to find a cave opening to start, so you can see your way to the thing that's defending some golden chalice. But you have to have some skin in the game. There has to be some reward at the end. It can't be just a silver spoon where you eat okay and okay, this is fine. No, it has to be like this golden chalice. Either like, and people have driven by different things. Some people just want to go on the mission, try something new. Some people need to be motivated by money. Some people want some clout. It's all kinds of reasons, ideological to material.
It's not giving preference to the most efficient, hardest working employees who might want to work from home, who you think they would give preference to if there's such a company driven by capitalism and hyper efficiency, and they don't know. What they want is they have a problem with the inefficient workers as long as they're ideologically aligned in a kind of slave mindset, in a colonized mindset, if we want to use that, to the corporations that rule over them. And what we're going to do is go through in detail this particular memo, which is the memo where they announce this particular return to the office thing, and it's riddled with corporate jargon and manipulative wording, essentially, right? So we've got this written by the CEO, and this is very important for you to learn from, because otherwise you'll end up in a position whereby you're exploited at your particular company by lots of corporate jargon. Now, some of it is obvious, right? Because we've all seen some of this wording, but a lot of this is very subtle, like psychological mind games to manipulate you. Yeah. And that's why it's important to learn from this, because I'm pretty sure your company, whether it's a return to the office initiative or some kind of other layoffs or any type of mind game they're playing with you, you have to learn from this example, I would say. Now, it starts with hey team, and firstly, of course, I mean, in what
Hey
sense?
team, hey, let's just, hey. By the way,
To meet the team as them, because you have a completely different agenda from them. You might want to work from home and they're forcing you into the office. So in what sense is that teamwork makes the dream work, or whatever corporate wording they use? These people who are at senior level are so detached from real day-to-day reality, and they wouldn't mind being in the office. It's like hanging out with their buddies, having these so-called important meetings. They're very comfortable in the office environment. Many of us are not, because we're censored. We don't have freedom of movement. Every little thing about the way we sit, the way we talk, the way we spend our time is highly judged. These people, if
you don't follow along 100% with everybody else is doing there, you're open to suspect, because you're putting on the destroyer vibes, man. You're not going along with everything that someone's already top down given to us like it's an industrial process. We're all little Maoists with our red books like, oh, yes, this is the best thing ever. Yes, this is the best thing ever. What do you say? Glorious leader, just don't fire me. I have nowhere else to go.
You ever spend time with senior management, and I have, with C-level executives, with people in the top of some of those skyscrapers in Canary Wharf, which I have been in Wall Street, places like that, right? I worked in New York too, dealing with some of these types. These people in very senior roles, they don't actually do a lot of work. What they do is they have a lot of meetings, they chit chat with their kind of senior management contacts, they have client dinners, they have dinners with their senior stakeholders.
Schmooze in the zero interest rate policy environment where we've had for the last 15 years. There was before that, there was a tiny few at the top, but they saw it was like, oh, this is pretty good, man. We got it pretty good. Maybe we can just get more people involved. I get my cousin Larry, his nephew, and we'll just get everybody involved at the top, and we'll just get some more the hoi polloi to do the things, the computery, typey button pushing stuff. We can get a whole series of them. We can outsource that stuff, no problem. So we're going to just let somebody else do this. It's very aristocratic, actually.
And I understand when you're at senior level, you kind of need a kind of clear mind to have strategic thinking. But this idea that they're working hard, or that they understand your reality, or that you're on the same team as them is kind of highly questionable.
Well, yeah, because you don't have the same benefits. You don't have the same You don't have the same stock packages. You don't have the same all the special little deals they got with each other. All that stuff that happens in a zero interest rate environment where everybody's getting free money from all these different places. All kinds of scams going on. All kinds of crazy real estate valuation scams and stock buybacks and to pump up your stock price. Oh, that's real. Ooh, wow, you really fooled us. Wow, you bought back your own stock, and wow, it went up in price. Well, wow, you guys really delivering some value there. Boy, the customer wins on that one, huh? Maybe he owns the stock, I guess.
They live quite relaxed lives and they're quite highly paid with quite stable, financial futures. So the hey team thing is very condescending, right, when it's coming from a CEO. So let's understand the corporate passive-aggressive language throughout this. First paragraph here, he's talking about strengthen our culture and teams, right? Now, strengthening our culture and teams, all that means is the company wants to regain control by sending you back to the office. It's not
This is good. This is a great translator.
about strengthening you in terms of giving you more time to, develop your skills. Strengthening just means increasing control and coercive control over their employees. Then it mentions things like...
I mean, what would you expect? They have to have most people taking orders. In a big company, most people got to take orders. They're not running a startup. They're not playing the same game as the adventure-driven stuff. Because almost all startups are adventure-driven. They're scrappy and small, and most of them fail. So they can't have that happening.
Feeling good about the progress, right, in this paragraph here, right? When he says feel good about the progress, what does he actually mean? What he's actually kind of saying is like, yeah, I feel good about the progress, this morale booster that I'm going to send you back to the office, right? So it's like,
that's a real morale booster there, sir. Wow, you really cracked the egg on the morale boost. Get back in the office.
Is he referring to, right? When people at an individual employee level, when you think about progress, you're thinking about either getting promoted because you're going to make more money or making more money through your bonus in your current role, right? I mean, what progress are we making together? This is the kind of, oh, we work in a company or one big family. It's not really like that, I mean, the progress is individual and the life change is individual. So if you get, let's say, a 10 grand pay rise and you can pay off more of your mortgage or your student loan or put that towards a holiday or future investments, that's progress for you. If the company progresses and makes a lot of profit, increasingly we're not really seeing that pass down to employees who've been crushed by inflation and pay rises that aren't really in line with those inflation.
With all the games that they're playing in the economy, you don't think people are going to figure out, oh, you're doing stock buybacks, well, you're cheating. So okay, I'm gonna have to charge you extra because there's cheating going on in the system, and I don't know how long this cheating is gonna go on, but as long as it's going on at this rate, I'm gonna have to charge you extra because there's cheating in the system all over the place.
Right. So this is just the typical soft open before we have more, the difficult news of dragging people back to the office. He's talking about here he talks about how he appreciates the hard work and ingenuity of our teams globally.
Oh, yeah,
It's quite interesting because companies like Amazon, they do have obviously warehouses within the West, but they have teams globally who are probably getting paid next to nothing in developing nations, whether it's Amazon, whether it's India, China, places like that.
So that's how they make how do you think this thing's put together? It's not... Every single person there is making 100K and everything's 16 vacations a month. And it's like, come on now. This is not how this works.
Things like that, you're like, people are out there getting paid a couple of dollars, and does he really care or know about them? Probably not as a CEO of Amazon. And it's...
Oh, they don't give a flying fuck. What are you talking about? They expect a warehouse worker to be worn out in 6 weeks to 3 months. They already know that. They have all their stats. They already have all the stuff. They already know that, so they don't give a fuck about people's hard work and ingenuity. They could care less. This is bullshit, total bullshit.
It's again the standard praise to soften the upcoming stricter measures, so it's quite difficult to kind of read and take seriously. Next up, he says, the ownership I've always felt at every level I worked at, right? Often you'll see with these...
Oh, yeah, the ownership. Yeah, you have lots of ownership. Yeah, I just posted a video about all the ownership they give you at Amazon. Oh, yeah. How many estimates? I have 2 points on this ticket, on this chair ticket. I have 2 points. I have 2 points. Well, it's now 3. It's 4. Hey, you told us it's 3. I'm going to put you on a PIP. Yeah, that's the ownership. Yeah.
If they actually didn't work up to the position they're in, they typically started, even if they started at a lower level, they knew someone senior who had a game plan for them, right? To promote them quite quickly, put them in a senior role. It's very unlikely people working in corporate roles have these rags to riches type stories. That's incredibly rare. Typically, it's someone very senior has put you in that more junior level to promote you up to a senior position, right? It's just a very quick rise, and I see this time and time again in the finance industry. It talks about
just standard aristocracy. This is a new aristocracy. That's all it is, and that's why all these companies are open to direct competition at all different levels. Totally open to it when if you don't engage in these practices and can make it through this next recession, then these things are all open. There's people the levels of ineptitude and just focusing on the wrong things this always happens to these companies. Always. So Amazon's in big trouble, man.
About the ownership I've ever felt and the attempt to shift. This is basically an attempt to shift responsibility onto employees to maintain their performance, right? He's not really, the only ownership he has, let's be real, is the equity owns in the company and the money he's earning monthly as part of his salary. And it's the same with you. That's the only ownership you have. You shouldn't have any more attachment to the corporation you're working for. So this idea that you've got to take real pride in your work, I understand that at a high level, and it makes
Okay, that when they started, yes. When Amazon was started, they had full on adventure driven, but not anymore. That was 20 years ago. That was 20 years ago, man. They might acquire a company that was already doing adventure driven development. They might keep them on for a while before they suck them into their organization and become standardized cogs. But that's not adventure driven anymore.
Makes sense when you have a side hustle in your own business. We don't really have any ownership for the company you work for when they can dispose of you very quickly. So I wouldn't be too concerned with the ownership and this type of jargon that he's putting through. He's also talking a lot here about, we've been in this company, we've had unprecedented growth from 15 million to 600 billion. I mean, this guy is, again, he's one of the major beneficiaries of those massive rises of income, right? Company profit. You're not really one of those, right? So
how much does the employee get? He just gets a salary. Who cares? I don't know who they write this for, but they make it sound like this is yours as well. It's like, that's not yours. You just work here. These corporations, that's why you have to figure out a way. You have to figure out a way, if you're feeling this at all, to get out of these organizations and realize there is another way, but you can't do it inside these. You can't have guaranteed success and have the success that you want to do on your own. You can't have the guaranteed salary, and this is what was dealt with. I want to stay secure. I also want to go rest. And then Apple's like, no. When he did the Apple II Plus is like, no, you have to leave now. And he's like, oh, I don't want to leave. I want to stay with the calculator company. He's like, in retrospect, it's like goofy, like HP calculators and then Apple computers. Like, no. But at the time, they didn't know. It was like, this is how every single creative person who lacks courage acts like, right? And they have to have someone who's willing to either be a tractor. They have the courage inside. They're willing to run up the mountain as many times as it takes. They can't do it anymore. That's like, come on.
He's basically, again, justifying the company's success to justify more demands on your compliance with him, going from working from home to being in the office. So these are things you've got to look out for. Like, what is he really saying in between the lines to you? Next up, he says, keeping your culture strong is not a birthright. What does he mean by that? What that means is, in order to maintain the corporation's coercive control of your life, we essentially need to, drag you back into the office. And if you as an employee don't step up, then you'll be cut loose, or,
So they make it seem like they try and make you mind control spells, keeping your culture strong. They're also bringing on this stuff like your actual culture from your country, the way you grew up and all that stuff. They have to bring that in there with the culture shit, which is corporate management, psychological workplace management. It's not really a culture. It's like, at this point, it's like psychological management of the workforce. But now, when it first started, they had it straight up adventure driven. They were fully doing the adventure driven route and plain to see. But as soon as they got traction, they went to this shit. They went to this okay, now we have to manage the workforce and we have to make them think they're doing adventure driven, because that's really what they want, right? People that are paying attention to this kind of crap, they would really like to do the adventure driven, but they want to have the safety net. And it's like, that's just not how it works, man.
Essentially part of a layoff. And it says you have to work at it all the time. Now, to what extent is he working at it all the time? When you're at a senior level, it's more so about pushing out rhetoric, whether it's, company memos like this, maintaining the internet, right, maintaining appearances, and, recording certain video instructionals to your junior staff when you have quarterly profit announcements, things like that. It's not actually being on the ground doing the work all the time, right, like most employees. And it's basically reasserting this aspect that you're not allowed to have work-life balance, which is what remote work typically does for most employees. It's basically work at it all the time. It's indirectly saying you need to be in the office and dedicating the majority of your life to a corporation that could get rid of you anytime, like Amazon. So it's a bit ridiculous. Next up, he says, we want to operate like the world's largest startup. Now, what does he
mean? You'd like to, but that's over. That ended 25 years or 20 years ago. Once you got a market cap, once you started getting traction, and everyone else that was even close to you was just, okay, we're done. We can't even compete. And you start doing the deals with the post office and all the special government deals for the servers and all that stuff. Yeah, once that started, you're not a startup anymore. Okay, you're a major corporation. You're totally locked into the deep state, or whatever the hell you want to call that, where you're into the government stuff, and the government's all over all this stuff. And come on now.
I mean by this, right? when you have a startup, typically the employees have a equity or ownership stake within the
Yeah, for
company.
sure.
Now, employees working for Amazon typically wouldn't, right? Unless you're at senior levels where you have a bonus, where you get certain
Right.
stock ownership for your hard work as part of your
Right. So that's a major thing. If you don't have equity, you're not in a startup. Stop.
bonus. So this like grind culture that they're encouraging while overworking employees without the benefits of a startup is a bit ridiculous. Next up, they're talking about you're constantly inventing for customers. What do we mean by constantly inventing? And what
That's bullshit. You don't have no like if you're gonna do software development at Amazon, you're just ticket punching, man. You're just doing this Jira ticket. You're just doing a Jira ticket grind. What are you talking about, man? You are expected to punch the tickets, do the death march, shave points off, which means time, right? And these are fake agile, doom tunnels. And where's your ticket? How's your ticket? Where's your ticket? What's a ticket? You're not doing any constantly inventing for customers. What are you talking about? Now, the companies they acquire who are on the outside that are somehow get the attention of Amazon, which is going to be fewer and fewer because they get bigger and bigger. You have to be a guaranteed success. That means you're already got a lot of traction. So why do you want to mess with Amazon list? Hey man, just want to cash out. That's totally legit.
innovation as a CEO is he coming up with, right? Or is it just a burden to place on their employees, again, to be in the office, to be collaborating and think up ideas or innovation for employees to come up with new ideas, innovate for Amazon, not have a financial stake in that output.
No, to innovate with customers, that means the engineers and the designers have, and the entrepreneur has to talk to customers. And if that's not happening, talking directly to them and making their own decisions about which way to go, that's not a freaking startup, man.
Come beyond the
Not
small money
adventure-driven.
that they might get. And Amazon reaps the massive profits from this, right? And if you've got any innovative ideas out there and you're watching this, I'd recommend that you look into your side hustle and not mention some of your good ideas at work. You're not going to get rewarded too well.
It doesn't matter anyway. They're not going to pay attention unless you got a big political machine behind you pushing it forward. They don't care anyway. It doesn't matter.
For it, right? There's a lot of corporations and teams just to get the visibility of senior management. They'll come up with completely ridiculous innovation, new management information reports, new presentations, new pointless reporting tasks.
All they can do is more horses, right? We're talking about like if you have a horse-drawn carriage, all you can do is put new horses on it, right? That's all they've come up with. They don't know about no engine, no turbo boost jet-powered thing. What do you know? We're just gonna give you a new presentation. We're gonna collect some new reporting data. You're gonna have to do a time card every week, and now we got the efficiency ratings and the point to brain. Why didn't you complete your ticket on time this week?
Pointless work is often justified as just kind of innovation or a new initiative within our team and department.
Well, it's because those people don't know. They don't know how to actually. They're not really wanting. It's just too risky to do what to actually implement these things. For the preserver type, you have to have studies and you have to have some budget to spend on just collecting data like surveys and stuff. There's nothing intuitive, nothing like the destroyer talking to the customer and saying, "This is crap. This is unacceptable." And the creator going, "Oh, okay, I'll make something outstanding." That never happened. That's just not happening, right? And now the companies that Amazon acquires every once in a while will be doing that, but Amazon's doing that. Come on.
And this is the ridiculousness of a lot of these corporate jobs and a lot of this kind of innovation at corporations. It's just additional work that doesn't really reap much benefit or much profit, which should be the driver of a company. Here he says, we need to increase the ratio of individual contributors to managers by at least 15% by the end of.
So they're actually paying attention. Oh shit, we grew the management layer a little bit too top heavy. It's like, whoa, it's like an inverted pyramid. Whoa, individual contributors down here at the bottom, and then the pyramid's like, whoa, it's upside down. Like this big management blows. Like I think we got too many of them up there. Too many nieces and nephews are up in this thing now. We have to get rid of them. Because they're just making people do more reports, more PowerPoints.
Q1. Right, and what this is another way of saying that we have too many people in middle management and we need to cut them and offload more responsibility onto fewer employees who are more junior levels. And this is something to look out for. This will be a growing trend within corporations. I know many people at the younger age, maybe in your 20s or early 30s, you've maybe seen the worst of the layoffs in terms of you being laid off because you're maybe considered not important. But every corporation, and like I said, I've worked in many different companies. They have so many middle-aged people in middle management, I would say in their 40s and 50s, who do absolutely nothing productive. They just micromanage their employees. They hang around in meetings and they have to play this kind of corporate game just to pay off their overpriced mortgage or their ridiculous.
In the ZERP environment, it was accepted as normal, but that's over for at least 10 more years. 5 to 10 more years, like minimum 5. I'd say at least 10. That's going to have to be small, scrappy if you want to not deal with this crap, which is going to be fewer and fewer people because they're doing mass layoffs already. Like they cannot maintain the structure as is. There's too many competitors like ready to take just coming up, and there's just no way they can keep this thing going like it is.
Ridiculous, dysfunctional marriage before they end up in a divorce and getting kind of completely wiped out financially. A lot of these people, they're the next group with a target on their head, and we need to get rid of them. We can just get rid of one senior middle management person and then hire 2 juniors to do their work, and just have a bit less managers in the middle of it, right? So a lot of these decision making, you need to kind of think through, right? If you're particularly, there's 2 ways of looking at this. If you're younger, you need to think ahead about saving and investing your money, because in your 40s and 50s, it could be very difficult to have a stable long-term job. This economy and this society is not going.
Yeah, if people think that they can just keep going and coasting like with the previous tech and just like continue with these mega corporations that was built on that stuff, your day's numbered, buddy.
Going in the right direction by any means. And the other aspect of looking at this is if you are in that age bracket over 40 in a corporate job, you really need to think seriously about how you're going to make it through the next couple of decades, which are going to be rough. Because a lot of these people, like I say, they're not adding much value, and if they go from one pointless middle management role at one major corporation to another, it's only a matter before one company's making cuts and the other company's also making those cuts.
Oh, yeah.
And it's something that's abundantly obvious to anyone.
I've said this before, but all the software that's been written for runs these companies, it all gotta go. It's all garbage. It's all crap. It's all crufty, overdone bullshit, right? And all the markets that they're currently in, people are dying for alternatives, and something's gonna pop up. And multiple things are gonna pop up, right? So people are they are just sick of this company. Amazon, they're just like, we're looking for something else different around it, and so there's a lot of opportunity there.
One who's in their 20s and 30s. If you're in your 20s and your 30s right now, you're probably like a swimming shark, right? You're a shark at work in the sense that you've noticed all these pointless people above 40, to be quite frank, who are in the corporate jobs. If not doing much, you can do your job without them, monitoring everything you're doing every day. You'd basically be able to survive and do your job quite well without them. And you could get rid of 1 or 2 layers of middle management very easily. And a lot of these people should be able to sense how disposable they are. The same way that the people in their early 20s who may be struggling to get a job and then they get a job and they realize that they could be fired at any moment. That next kind of sense of dread of a layoff coming up should be, people over 40 who've really overstayed their welcome in some of these corporate jobs and not doing anything too productive. And then you've got this phrase here, drive decision.
It's hard to believe.
What does he mean by that? This is spin, right? And what is the spin here? The spin is pushing for decision making without offering resources and support. It's basically, you're on the front line, you just need to get on with things. If we remove these layers of management that you might be depending on early on in your career, you just need to basically use your own thought processes and figure it out and get the work done, right? Which, like I say, there's 2 edges of that sword, right? One hand, middle management kind of unnecessary. Another aspect is, particularly for junior employees, they might be needed. And then if you have junior employees, they might be relying on people who just have a couple more years more experience than them on the front line. Essentially, Amazon's saying, listen, get back to the office, we're going to make job cuts, you're going to have a much harder time doing your same job with less people. He's got an interesting concept here called a bureaucracy mailbox, and it's a superficial gesture where employees can basically, log things where they have bureaucracy and unnecessary processes that could be removed, right? But the truth is, one of the biggest bureaucracies is being in the office, returning to the office.
Yes, the bureaucracy mailbox is the problem, sir. This is the problem. How about get rid of the bureaucracy mailbox and the 15 layers of... I got 8 bosses. 8 bosses. 8 bosses.
This is a massive pointless bureaucracy. It's a massive inefficiency when employees can work from home, do their job, live their life.
So when the points on my Jira ticket are off by 1, guess how many bosses I hear from? 8? Yes, 8 bosses are gonna come by one after the other. Did you get the points off on that thing? Why do you have the points? Why is the points slowing down? Could we do something to make the points speed up? Yeah. How about not having 8 bosses come by my desk tell me I need to speed up?
Life in a way that suits them, right? It's a completely superficial gesture, and it's the typical senior management, so-called employee-friendly way of dealing with their employees.
Oh yeah, it's super employee-friendly. Yeah, put a mailbox up here. Don't knock on my door. Don't call me. Don't come into my house. Don't take me out to dinner. Don't get away from me. I've got a mailbox. Put your grubby crap in there, and I might get to it later if I feel like it.
To resolve any real issues. And an example of these completely pointless senior management initiatives is I was working in a sales and trading division of a major investment bank, and they had this initiative that on Wednesdays, we're not going to send any emails on Wednesday afternoons, just to keep people's inbox free and so that they think carefully about sending emails.
See, who's that for? As a developer, I could give less of 2 shits about that stuff. I'm not even checking my email once a day anyway. But these guys check their email like 16 times a day, or they have a little notification with it, bing, bing, bing. It's like, God damn it, you guys. You need to go. You guys need to go.
Emails, and that they make phone calls or send chats rather than sending emails. It's like a Wednesday afternoon 4-hour slot where no one sends emails. Completely ridiculous. On 1 or 2 occasions, I accidentally sent an email during that time frame, and then my managing director was quite upset with me because senior management...
Ethan, how dare you? We told you no emails.
Saying I can't send emails around that time period, and I was just trying to get my job done. The amount of ridiculous bureaucracy that comes from senior management and their dumb initiatives, the type of things. This would be considered innovation by senior management. By
Oh yeah, innovation. Ooh, don't send emails for 4 hours. That's innovation. We're meeting customer demands. We're inventing things.
Amazon's a super hyper efficient, innovative tech company. It's one of the FANG companies. They have completely ridiculous things like this, and it's no different in the finance industry either. Here it mentions,
oh, they're retarded.
Bureaucracy.
This is the finance industry. All the zero interest rate money. All this thing is about to fall over. This stuff cannot continue. This whole financialization of our entire economy and everything that we do in it, and every single aspect of it, that's over. That stuff's got to go. That stuff's got to go. It's totally. There's too many people thinking they can squeeze 2% off of your transaction all the way up the chain and make that, and that could be that's going to be how America just is powerful and innovative and is world leading. Oh, really? Is that how we're going to do? We're going to make a nickel off each transaction? Is that how we're going to do it? Okay.
Your unnecessary processes that we need to root out. The management is basically saying the senior management is saying we're gonna get rid of middle management and all the inefficient processes we want the junior employees to figure out and flag to us and get rid of. There's no accountability, there's no ownership. It's like completely.
I mean, it's so obvious where this stuff is. It's obvious where the unnecessary processes are. It's obviously where the bureaucracy is. It's them. But you can't tell them that, right? You can't tell them like, hey, you can't just do paperwork pushing, giving me interview, like write down form stuff. You have to get involved. Come down here, design some UIs, get the customers on the phone, get us conference calls, and where we talk to the customer every day. How can I talk to them right away? Let me get down tech support. How about you take some tech support calls? How about you take some customer support calls? How about you get in the chat room and start talking to these people? No, never heard of it. Oh, okay.
Absolving senior management of accountability and responsibility. And it's part of a growing trend that I will cover in my future videos. We've got a lot of these major corporations. The senior management don't have accountability and responsibility. The middle management get away with doing next to nothing.
Of course.
There's many, I know some of you are not going to like it, but there's lots of DEI hires, lots of girl power, girl boss types, lots of ideologically aligned people who push whatever the latest woke agenda is. They're repeating.
Well, that was been encouraged. It's been in a zero interest rate environment. We got monies for free. And the wokey ideology is run rampant in college. What do you expect?
Parroting all the corporate woke agendas, all these four groups, right, that I just mentioned, they're not doing anything useful, and the burden is all falling on the junior employees or the handful of productive employees throughout those ranks.
Right. And the ones that are left over, just like, okay, I think hopefully it'll get better soon. It's like, no, it's not going to get better, man. Look, if this stuff is bothering you at all, it's like ringing a bell, and you're like, this sucks. This is unacceptable, right? This is an unacceptable environment. You have to figure out how to become outstanding. That means you have to go outside your comfort zone. So if you're right here on this edge, you're like, it's too hard. But if you're in here, if you're in this region of this type of thing, we're like, this is room for improvement to acceptable. You have to figure out a way. And the good news is it's all available on the internet for free. It's just having the courage and creativity to go on and go and try and find your cave opening, right? So you can make an attack run, okay?
That demographic, it's men and women, but a lot of it is men, working age, military age men. And the burden of this completely inefficient system is falling on the shoulders time and time again of demographic, working age, military age men. And it's like a big boulder on their back, on their shoulders, and they're trying to hold up a completely collapsing Western civilization and Western corporations. And this is an example of it, right? Amazon is like so many of these companies, so many of these countries, they're legacy brands. And what do we mean by legacy?
Yes, legacy brands. So yes, they have to. So legacy brand has to bring in the preserver types. And the more preserver types there are, the more preserver types there are. And this is just the nature of organizations. This is the nature of human activity. When too many people have had too much of a good thing and they expect it to be like that forever, and they've been told it should be that way forever, and if they check all the boxes, it'll be like that forever, guess what? You're going to get a bunch of people in there that like that. And then when things change, which they just did, when things change, it's like, what do you mean they changed? It's supposed to be like this forever. You said it was going to be like this forever. It's like, no, that's not how things go. It goes to a pulse. Ping! This is like a pulse traveling in time, right? This thing's it's coming through the society. There's all these pulses coming through the society, and they all have their start, their growth, their peak, their fall, and then their end. It's a sigmoid, right? It's never exponential up to forever. That's the hype cycle. And we're in the middle of the hype cycle. If you see those up and forever type charts, that means you're in the middle of the hype cycle. Like maximum zero interest rate policy environment, right? That is when hockey stock forever. Oh, really? Hockey stock forever? I just give up on my dream and go work for you? Yes, then we'll do hockey stock for. Well, we're always going to have hockey sticks. It's that, and when it starts to tail off, they're like, "Whatever, you lied to us."
Brand. It means they're relying on their previous reputation. The UK, United Kingdom, England, things like that, the United States, America, Canada, the Western Europe, they used to be these great places to live and work. Canada, Australia, New Zealand, but they're all facing the same issues. Completely bloated inefficiencies, corruption in government, wasting tax money, completely inefficient companies, and Amazon's relying on its reputation from the past. Same thing with Google, which I'll cover in videos coming up shortly. All these companies, they can't time of relying on a previous reputation that they can't maintain now because they've disregarded their core demographics that do the work, that come up with the innovation, the hardworking employees, the innovative men, the women who are productive too, right? It's completely an upside down dynamic, right? Because I'm sure many of their best tech guys are probably introverts, maybe on the autism spectrum, may prefer to work from home in quiet environments, and they're disregarding that. They're like, we're going to drag you back to the office and you're going to have to, do that or we'll fire you. How is that an effective way of running a major corporation that wants to be at the market leader of what they do, whether it's Amazon or Google or any other company? They should.
That's because so many of the preserver types have taken over, and they think that everything can be done through a ticket box, and it's already been done before. All you need to do is optimize the system, just shave a couple points off your estimates, and we're gonna get it out faster and have it completely done forever. No, and the destroyer creator types, they only put up with these situations for so long, and some will put up with it for a long time, but the ones that are actually like, nah, this is too much, and they see a cave opening, because I know they're all looking. They cannot be abused this badly and not be like, okay, I'm looking around for cave entrance. There's got to be a cave entrance around here somewhere. I'm gonna go find another golden hoard, a golden chalice. And I'll go find, which is the customer's demands, right, for this new thing, whatever niche the thing is you're going into to try and create your own cave opening, find your own cave opening. Yeah, it's all over the place. So we're about to have a major wave of innovation come through the industry that's going to wipe away a lot of these companies in the next 5-10 years.
Always focus on how are we setting for the best employees and how are we going to help elevate them, not just for their benefit, but for the benefit of the company. And that's when you're looking at those companies and their approach in real detail, Amazon, Facebook, Google, Netflix, or any of these major corporations, you're like, hold on, they're more ideologically driven than they are innovative. They're removing their kind of innovation aspect because it might involve working with, like I say, highly skilled people who might not have the most politically correct takes. They might not fall in line with the woke agenda. And what ends up happening is you start to think, are they actually really independent, profit-driven companies? Because Amazon could save hundreds of millions, or if not billions of dollars by employees working from home. But they're not doing that. So then you have to think, is Amazon, Google, Apple, all these companies, are they simply extensions of the deep state? Are they really funded at the back end through the deep state or three-letter agencies? You really need to start thinking about these things. There's so many limitations on freedom of speech right now, but just really think it through. Like, hold on, why is a company going to spend so much money putting people in an office? Why wouldn't they just say, okay, you've got to be in the office one day a week? There's something not adding up here. And that kind of missing piece is who's really funding these companies at the back end, propping them up. And
who's really funding these things? Who is really funding these? Where do they get their money from? Where did Bezos and Musk and all these guys get their money to run all these things?
God, so many highly skilled people who might not want to be working in the office. If you want to know how exactly manipulative these companies are, and Amazon owns a stake in Whole Foods. Now, Whole Foods, and this is really how much they care about employees and how undermining they are. Whole Foods is, and this was a massive viral scandal you might have heard about in recent years, Whole Foods wants to track the risk of unionization. They don't want labor unions forming and interacting with their companies, essentially, right? They don't want employees collaborating to increase their salary. So what they're doing is Whole Foods is using like a secret heat map, and if you work in corporate roles, heat maps is just like typically heat maps that could be used for various things, but I've seen it used to manage risk. So they'll have 3 ratings: red, amber, and green. And
well, I think what they're doing is they're actually tracking the people in the stores where they're at, and you can get a 2-dimensional. You've seen the heat maps where it's got the color gradations. The more they go into the red, or it's more the more activity there, and the less it's the blue or cool. It's less activity. That's all that's going on there. And for these workers, I mean, if Whole Foods is smart, instead of letting them unionize, it's just paying a little more. God damn, guys. That's the problem. Is they're trying to optimize. It's always these preservers always want to optimize on an industrial level to maximize profits. And the thing is, these employees and these people here at these companies, they can feel all that stuff, and it starts to become inhuman to them. And that's when they start to push back, right? I don't know. So instead of unionizing, really, it's just competing company has to be put together, and that is happening. That's what's going on right now. This stuff is ridiculous right now, but it always gets like this. There's big companies that have happened. There, AT&T got like this, Exxon, Standard Oil, but they all got like this. They all got like this, and then eventually they fall over, and nobody remembers. But they were just tiny shells of themselves.
You'll have a spreadsheet and it'll have various factors and they'll rate the risk. Is a red risk like high risk, amber risk, medium risk, or green risk means that's low risk. So it's another way of saying these companies, Amazon, are saying they have such little regard for employees that they're considering all these factors and ranking secretly which Whole Foods branch, the one in New York or LA or London or wherever, where there's a higher risk of them for labor union or joining a labor union and launching a protest for essentially higher pay and better employee treatment. And it says here the heat map is uses more than 24 different metrics to track which Whole Foods stores may unionize. The heat map focuses on monitoring, external risks, store risks, team member sentiment, and things like that. So what does it mean by this? So external risk is where are the local unions? How close are they to the local Whole Foods? Is it a large union or not? Right. The store risk is like what's going on in the store. The team sentiment is looking at feedback, quality, safety, support, and it encourages basically indirectly teams to kind of track and monitor each other or management to track how unhappy.
What's funny about this is Whole Foods used to be like really a good place to work for their employees. So that's what. So that's the other thing too. They were a startup. They were just a startup, man. In Austin, it was crazy. It was silly. It almost failed a bunch of times. And so they sold to Amazon because Amazon. Oh, we just have that startup vibe. We'll bring in the startup vibe. It's like, that's not how we're... Then they start doing this top-down corporate stuff. It's like, what happened to the startup vibe? Why aren't people happy to work here? Just reduce cost.
You're happy their junior staff are and what likelihood they're likely of unionizing, right, or joining a labor union. And this is how insidious and kind of evil the system is, right? Imagine you're talking with a coworker and you mention a labor union and then your manager overhears and they go and snitch on you to the senior management of Whole Foods, which is owned by Amazon partly, and kind of screw you over. Now let's look at some of the risks that they consider in this heat map scenario. And this is how little regard they have for you. So when they give you any type of mumbo jumbo, corporate lingo about looking out for your best interests, just look out for things like this. When it comes to store risk, they're looking at the average store compensation, total store sales, the diversity index. Now this is very interesting, right? Because what it's essentially saying, what it actually noticed is that stores that have lower diversity are more likely to unionize. So typically when
This is where your DI is pushing. Like, we don't want these people to get together. If they already hate each other and we mash them together, there's no way they're going to unionize. So we get them all in there. We tell them each other is the problem. We get them to make sure that each other thinks is the problem, and they'll never think to unionize because they'll be fighting each other too much, right? That's how we do it. We're Amazon.
Fed this narrative of diversity is so important. Why would a company care about diversity? Isn't a company driven by profit? Doesn't a company want to make as much profit as possible, whether all the employees are men or women or white or black or Asian? And just for full disclaimer, I'm ethnically Asian. I come from an Indian background, even though I've been in London for most of my life, right? And I've basically spent my whole life here. The point is, I'm not against diversity, but what it's saying here, and this is how evil companies are, they're saying, we want there to be more diversity because there's less risk of you unionizing. Because if there's less diversity, you're more likely to join a labor union, which means, there's majority white people or majority black or Asian, people of similar background, less diversity, they tend to, look out for each interest more and look out to join the labor union and collaborate, maybe against the best interest of their management who might be monitoring them.
Yeah, so this is why these companies, due to these types of things, people eventually figure it out, and hopefully. But the people that don't figure it out, we'll see how, because they're doing this a lot, right? They're doing this DI stuff a lot. So there's going to be people like, hey, if you're going to do that stuff, we're going to do the opposite of it, right? We'll say it's only just for some certain group, and we'll let anybody in, but it's really for these people, right? So when that becomes the main thing, it's like it's the mom and pop shop again. We're just getting flipped back to the mom and pop shop. The technology to make these apps and these companies work is not as complicated as it used to be, right? All the stuff that they used to write all that stuff, it can be thrown out. We're going to rewrite it again. This is where there's a whole new opportunity coming in for people and the destroyer creator types. That's why I'm a KMP developer because I can do one code base. Let's be with one UI, one code base, one code for the UI, just one for Disney, the Android, iOS, web, desktop, whatever, watch, visor, backend, one language, one set of UIs, one company, one IE. It cuts away so much bullshit, right? And we already know, don't go to microservices. Limit your AI use. You can build it using AI, but don't build it on AI. That's a bad idea, right? Don't make that the main thing. You use it for customer support. Don't use it for your mainline shit, okay? Like all this stuff that we know, like, that corporations like, what do you mean we don't build on AI? What do you mean? It's like, dude, you've been sold a total bill of goods. That AI stuff is so far away from us actually building products on top of it. Come on now, stop. No. So, but build it using those tools. Hell yeah. So. This is the opportunity that's happening, and AI is never going to figure out all this invert stuff. It's always going to be like, oh no, we'll just do the preserver model. We'll just optimize it out. It's never come up with the destroyer creator stuff. Like, hey man, there's another whole thing here that you're not seeing. Like, that's a human thing. You actually have to be human to see that stuff. The machine won't see that stuff. The machine was like, take something you've already done and optimize the shit out of it, make it faster, cheaper, whatever. If it's a manufacturing process, but it's not going to come up with something new. You have to be freaking dangerous. Dangerous.
Right? That's a completely crazy scenario. So the thing is, we got to think about the game plan when it comes to these type of scenarios. Okay, so the game plan is, and I'll talk about Morgan Stanley. I worked in this office right here, so if you can see this office, this is in Canary Wharf. Canary Wharf is a bit like the Wall Street of London, and this is.
I work in Cube. Oh, you look! I'm many little cubes. I'm a cuber. I'm basically a cube inside of a cube.
Quite a nice location, a corporate location. I'll talk to you through what's going on there in a second, right? But firstly, let's go through this. If you're dealing with a return to the office mandate, you should bear in mind if Amazon's moving to returning to the office, then other companies could too, right? It won't just be the only one. So if you think, oh, I'm going to leave Amazon and I'm going to join another company, they let people work from home, they could quickly follow suit. You know, the same way when Twitter made a lot of job cuts, a lot of other tech companies did because they realized how many pointless employees they have. If Amazon will probably get away with dragging employees back to the office, many other companies will. So don't jump ship if you work at Amazon right now. Other things to bear in mind is these things called silent layoffs, which is basically culling the herd or telling employees that, you know, you should basically get back to the office as soon as possible, or if not, well, basically get rid of you, right, if you don't want to come back to the office. And the people who are most affected, as I say, it's not the laziest employees. It's typically people who have circumstances where they need to work from home. Maybe they have a mental health issue, they prefer quiet environments, they look after their kids while they're working from home, things like that. And some employees, you know, like middle management, they're kind of skeptical of remote work productivity, but like I say, these companies have had major profits over the time people have been working from home, so it really shows you how pointless working in the office is. And of course, you know, we should be paid on results and productivity, not visibility.
Now I will say, so I will say there are times on a project, where you do need to work together in close proximity, and there should be a place that we can do that from time to time. But having these huge open office environments, like, okay, if 7 people share an office, and then we're not expected to be there all the time, we can come in when we need to and have it and don't have to be there to when the big push happens, or if it makes sense that we're all together. It's like, when it's 7 people, it's totally cool, but inside of an open office arrangement with all the even though it's 7 people, all the other stuff, it's just no, that's not gonna do it. So it's the kind of thing where you're gonna have to dedicate a piece of your life if you want to do adventure driven stuff. That you're gonna have this is what I'm gonna do for a while, and the life work balance is not gonna be too balanced. And some of this for the adventure driven stuff, but that's the way to get to the happy, right? This is where the happiness is, around here. When you're done with all this stuff, you've seen enough of this crap, and you're like, I want to make a run. I'm gonna try and find a cave opening. I'm gonna try and find a monster I can slay. That's gonna be my level, and to get me to the golden horde, so I can go up to the next thing, right? That's adventure driven. So a lot of times you can be working at these big companies, but if you're working on these side projects, somehow some of the thing that could take you away from it. I mean, yeah, if you're already feeling it, like, well, there's a lot of people that are just totally okay with it. Well, even if you told them what you're doing, they'd be like, what are you talking about, man? You guys are crazy. I'm going to have this job the rest of my life. No one, I'm always going to be able to work remote. I'm never going to have to do, if something changed, well, I don't mind working in the office. I'll keep going to the office. The benefits are really great. So some people are okay with that, but maybe you're not one of them.
Unfortunately, that's how it works. Now, utilizing office investments, right? A lot of these companies say you have to come back to the office because we have all this real estate. We need people to be in the office.
Not my problem.
And that's when you see things like this. This is somewhere where I've worked, as I say, Morgan Stanley. And I was always surprised. And full disclaimer, everything I'm saying is based on publicly available information. I'm not insinuating anything on my time working there. Don't want to end up with any legal issues. So Morgan Stanley commits to Canary Wharf. They want their employees to be back in the office 5 days a week. On certain rare cases, they're comfortable with maybe the tech guys being in the office 3 days a week. And that raises the question, why, right? Like I say, you know, why would they be spending so much money? This is a very expensive location to have employees in. It's not like they have certain companies, they've relocated out of this location. Certain government financial regulation, they've left Canary Wharf, like leaving Wall Street because it's so expensive to have office space there. So these companies, Morgan Stanley could save hundreds of millions by moving the employees and letting them work from home and reducing their office space. You see how many flights of levels they have there, how many floors they have? There's like I think it's 6 to 14 floors. So they could remove half their office space by letting employees work from home, but they refuse to, right? And they have all this wording here about justifying why they need to have people in the office until 2038. It's completely ridiculous, right?
It's because they got to deal with somebody. They got to deal with somebody that got jacked up the prices, and they're trying to, hey man, if we don't have employees coming down here, we cannot justify keeping this price up here. So we're going to lose 50% of the value if you don't get your employees to come back down here, dude. He's like, oh shit, I better. That's millions of dollars. Oh shit!
It's completely ridiculous. And this is why you have to really increase your leverage. That's why the whole point is
it's all these backroom deals, man.
Saving and investing, and taking some of my career advice is to look at your leverage, so they can't just snap their fingers and say you have to come back to the office and spend a lot of money, traveling to the office and time doing that, right? So other reasons why they want to drag people to the office is they think, collaboration and innovation is easier in person, doing a brainstorming, a huddle session. But this is really things you could do on MS Teams. It's not that complicated, right?
Yeah.
Now, my game plan to you, like I say, is don't overreact.
I mean, okay, I will say there are times when you do want to when you do want to physically get people together, but there's another time when you don't need it, when everyone already kind of knows what we're trying to do. We're trying to go after this one thing, and we need a week of not doing any meetings at all, just to grind on whatever it is and complete it out and finish it up, whether it's a week, 10 days. I don't know how long it's going to. There's a point in time when we don't need to do the meetings anymore. We don't need to check in. We don't need to check in by Slack. But there's a time when we need to do more planning, right? Where's it here? When we have to be we have to be in the tavern together, right? We all have to be together. Now there's phases where it's like we do it in person, and phases when we can do it by Slack or by video Zoom meeting. Come on, let's be adults here. We don't have to be there the whole time, right? That's especially with this coding stuff. It's like a lot of it's just dicking around with stuff. It's like a lot of it's reading, look at documentation, seeing what APIs change, blah blah blah, right? It's a lot of that stuff.
Many companies are going to have return to the office. Don't think about jumping one to the other. You never know when that could change. And also, what's important in these scenarios for everyone, regardless of whether it's a return to the office or not, is really try to network at this time of year, because just understand what is the gauge of layoffs potentially next year, because many companies will be having layoffs next year, and you don't want to be caught up as one of them, right? So really think carefully, what's going on, if their companies are having these major changes, people being told to come back to the office, or they're going to be fired. Are there any other changes? Are there any other rumors of divisions or job cuts or layers of the business where there could be changes? Do you have different skill sets, so you might want to move internally ahead of these kind of changes? So just really think about that. And if you're preparing for a job search because you're hearing rumors of job cuts in your company, take a slow approach applying to jobs. There's not going to be a lot of hiring this time of year. Next year, if the old budgets open up at the start of the year.
Yes, I think he's going off and saying like trying to get another job, which I'm on the thing where it's like, okay, if you are seeing these problems, these issues that Ethan's going over, you're a candidate for doing it adventure driven. So I'm just trying to get you like to the mindset of like, it's possible. All right. I'm Chris. Give me a like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.